Hey Joel, how's it going?
Great, Molly. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. I had the most amazing evening last night. I went to a beer garden with some friends, but we had a great conversation that made me think about you.
Tell
So let
me.
me tell you this. They were talking about cryptocurrencies, and they were talking about how 2 years ago they were thinking about putting $1,000 in and how much money they'd have today. And oh my goodness. And they seriously were wistful about it, but
Mm.
they made their own choices and they said, no, we have two kids in college right now that we're supporting. And they made a choice not to spend the $1,000.
It sounds just like the story in our book, Infinite Love and Money, in chapter 6, when we were talking about ways to invest. And I remembered back to, the Dr. Pepper story with my parents my mom used to always say to my dad, whenever, he got a Dr. Pepper or she saw Dr. Pepper, do you remember back when your father had the chance to invest in Dr. Pepper? And what if he had, how many millions we would have had? And that whole
Yeah.
fear of missing out and this angst of like, why
Yes.
didn't we take the chance?
Yes, exactly. Complete FOMO. That's exactly what I was remembering was what we write about in the book, and the story about your parents. And I was just like, wow, they have some serious FOMO. And I honestly, we got in the car and we're driving off, and I asked Glenn. I said, "Well, honey, should we invest? Are we going to have FOMO in 2 years?" So he said, "Why don't you ask Joel?" And I said, "Yeah, that's a great idea."
So it's a
So I'm
great
asking you, Joel.
question. It's a great question. And I'm sure a lot of people who are watching right now have the same question.
Yeah.
And my answer is it comes down to your belief level, right? So what's your belief level from 1 to 10 in any investment, that not just Bitcoin or Ethereum or Algorand or any of the other 2,500 different cryptocurrencies, but what's your belief level from 1 to 10, where 10 is absolute faith? You're going to make money. You've done your research. You read the white papers on all the different cryptocurrencies you're interested in, and you're going to make money. You're a 10.
So
Versus the people who are ones, who have gotten, who have massive doubt. They're like, they got a tip, and they're like, oh my God, I could lose all my money. And it's like, what should I do? If you're a one, I would recommend not investing, because what's going to happen is you're going to be buying when you should be selling and selling when you should be buying.
that's a really good point. I will tell you, I haven't done my research, but I still have a belief level of 8 without research.
Nice.
So
Well,
it's just gut feeling. Um, and to me at this point in our lives, like, if we can find some crypto to invest in, even if we put $1,000 into it, it just feels like a good gamble. It just feels right.
so that's important, right? To have a good belief level. But let's talk about the cryptocurrencies. And,
Yes.
first of all, they're all digital assets, right? They're the creation of a Bitcoin or Ethereum or Algorand or any of the others comes from mining through computer algorithms. So that's how a
Mhm.
coin is created. And then it's a question of, can any of these be a store of currency, which means that you can actually use it to purchase something, right? You can use dollars. Now, dollars are just the figment of people's imagination as well right now, right? It's just, okay, you
Sure.
trust that that dollar can be used to pay for something. It's just a piece of paper, but you
Right.
trust that it can be. So it's the same thing. At some point, some of these cryptos are going to be able to be used to purchase different types of material items, physical reality items. And in fact, one particular cryptocurrency right now is being used by the Marshall Islands. Algorand is being used by the Marshall Islands as their store of value, because they have 1,000 different islands, and they want to make sure that there's one particular currency used for all these 1,000 islands.
Wow,
So
that's amazing.
that could be happening across the world by different types of countries that maybe, don't have a real store of value and it's fluctuating up and down. So they may go to a cryptocurrency instead as the store of value. So that is likely to happen, I think, over, say, the next 3 to 5 years. And you just have to research and figure out which ones have the most likely use by different countries, and then which ones have more stable value. Because when the volatility of the currency is so high, it's really hard for people to transact.
Right.
Think about
Right.
if Bitcoin's $10,000 in January, now it's 60.
Right.
You couldn't buy a Tesla with it, but now you can.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's some really good advice, to go and research which one. And I like the one that you've recommended, and to read the white papers, but my belief system in it is pretty high. Like, I think about the other things that I can't remember what they're called, the digital photos, that are going for, like, that one art piece went
Yeah.
for millions. Like, it was the biggest art sale ever. Do you
Right.
know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
That I don't have a huge belief system in. I mean, I believe that people will continue to make a lot of money on, or buy those things for a lot of money, but I don't have the belief system that I can count it as an asset or count it as an investment.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that.
But I do believe that Bitcoin might be able to. So thank you for the tip and the conversation.
My pleasure. And there's more in our book, Infinite Love and Money, in chapter 6, Ways to Invest. And next week, we'll talk about dreams and desires in chapter 7.
Very exciting.
Great to be with you, Molly. Joel. And for those watching, I believe in you.
We're sending you off with love.